Okay. Can you guys hear me okay? Yes. My name is Jeremy Grandstaff. I always begin conversations when I'm on video by saying, just in case you're trying to figure out why I'm not looking you in the eye, it's because I happen to be a blind guy. So don't take it personally. I don't look anybody in the eye. But I want to talk with you today about your wealth and your impact. You know, people always say to me when they meet me, especially people who have never met a blind guy before in their life, they'll be like, "Oh, you are so amazing. I can't believe you just walked across the room. Oh my God, how did you do that?" And I usually well, first of all, I try not to make fun, right? But I'll say, honestly, not being able to see sometimes, I don't see the limits. So I just kind of go right around them. It's like they're not even there. And let me explain what I mean by that. I was a lucky kid. My parents, my family, my parents and my siblings encouraged me to do anything that I wanted to do. And so we're going to go through some pictures here where you'll see that as a blind guy growing up on a farm for the first 18 years, my job really was to figure out how I could do the things that I wanted to do. So I did things like running barrels on my horse. And my dad and I figured out that if we put a beeper on each barrel, then I could listen to where the beepers were. There were people, by the way, who accused us of cheating by doing that. I thought that was kind of funny. I learned how to ride my bike. Now, I'm going to own for you, I could not find a picture of me riding my bike outside. And I talked to my parents. We figured out the reason why is because by the time I was outside riding my bike, it was just kind of second nature. And they didn't think, well, we should take a picture of that, right? But the way I did it, I mapped the ride in my head. I'd walk around and I'd map it kind of how I wanted to do it. And I like to say I learned by doing. And let's be clear, I had some scars from that. I will tell you that after 3 weeks of running into the mailbox and scraping my knuckles, I learned where that mailbox was and didn't hit it again. I had to learn how to wrestle as a blind guy. And I got to tell you, I wasn't really good at that. That had nothing to do with me being blind. I just didn't care if I won, right? My dad would be like, "What's wrong with you?" I'm like, it was fun, right? Marching and band. This was such an awesome one. I couldn't find one with us actually on the field. Those are all on videos, a VHS. That's how long ago we're talking, right? But I remember my senior year having a solo and band. My band instructor designed this picture where I, as the soloist, was the point of a star. Do you have any idea how hard it is for a blind guy to always march to the right spot and the star? It took a lot of time, and I really want to say I really appreciate my classmates for not killing me during that. I even rode a dirt bike for a couple years. My friends were getting their licenses and having fun in their cars, okay? I just wanted to have some fun. It didn't really work out that way for me. But what all these stories have in common? This ingrained desire in me that I am sure was a result of my parents' upbringing and this idea that their kid was going to grow up, quote unquote, normal, whatever that was. But I just constantly was always looking at and exploring my options, trying to figure out what the limits were, and quite frankly, just going right around them. Put a different way, I did whatever I could to just kind of remove the barriers that were in front of me. And there's an irony that when I went back as a little kid, when I went back as an adult and tried to ride my bike, totally didn't work the same. I couldn't reach that inner child in me that basically said, who cares? Do it. And there's an irony that most of my professional growth, wealth growth, personal growth, has always been driven by figuring out how to jump past barriers. Most people, they think that wealth means status, right? If you're going to have wealth, you got to have money. You got to start money. You got to It's always got to be about money. But I am here to tell you that wealth is a little different for me. Money's part of it, obviously. But real wealth is having control over your choices and being able to align those choices with your values. As a blind person, I had to design my future from scratch, right? Of course, let's be clear, I was a white boy, so I had white privilege. And I would be remiss if I didn't own that just directly, because I did. But, and I had great family, my siblings, my parents, they played a huge role in my success. I distinctly remember my sister standing there when I was like 15 years old and telling me, no, that is not how people stand. You look weird. Stop standing that way. Right? And in her defense, she just wanted to help me figure out how not to be known as just the blind guy. For the first part of my life, they were my team, and though they're still supportive, I had to figure out how to surround myself with new team members that were going to kind of challenge me. I didn't have the privilege of sight to be able to watch other people. My family was not wealthy, so I didn't have a lot of money to go to the greatest schools. I didn't have that, quote, normal access that most people do. I remember being a teenager arguing with book publishers, telling them what I needed to be able to get my books so that I could read them. And by the way, nobody taught me how to do that. I just kind of figured out how to talk to them and how to get what I want. I remember working with my dad to draw geometry pictures. Like I said, I was lucky. My parents were very involved in what I did. I don't even think my high school friends realized that we used to spend 3 hours a night on geometry just so I could learn the pictures. I like saying I didn't see the rules, so I just rewrote them and sometimes made them up as I went. And that was kind of how I lived my life for a very long time. It wasn't all easy, mind you. Sometimes took me a little longer with my stubbornness. Jay, I love how you talked about brokenness, right? I believe I'm a man of integrity, and I think my biggest learnings probably came from times when I have admitted that I was broken. Like when I decided 5 years ago that I was going to get clean and deal with my addictions. But my eye-opening learning also came from times when people challenged my internal values. And it's really important to talk about those things when we're talking about building our impact and our wealth. I know what it's like to stand in front of somebody that I've worked for 3 years and they still don't understand, literally saying to me on video, you'll never be able to do the same job that a sighted person can do. And again, I don't have money, so it's not like I'm going to sue them. I need a job. I know what it's like to always be fighting for access. I know what it's like to pay a company so that I can use their software. And when I tell them that it's not accessible and I just need them to fix a couple things, they say, oh yeah, thanks for your money. And that's it. Just like other people who face systematic inequities, that doubt that it brings in oneself can creep in. Bias is always there, and sometimes our own internal bias can really just overwhelm us. And if I was someone who had a not visible disability like ADHD or neurodiverse challenges, it would be even worse. Because at least when I walk in the room, they know I can't see. I have my cane or my seeing eye dog. And so most of the time, I can kind of hear them in the back of the room talking about it and just kind of go up and be like, oh, did you have a question? And kind of just call it out. But it's these beliefs, these challenges that we create for ourselves, the ways that we look at ourselves, when we care how others judge us, that's what becomes the barriers to your success. And if you're not careful, they'll become your resistance. And your goal, as I tell all the clients that I work with, your goal is to remove the resistance. So let's talk about how we do that, right? What was some of the ways that I overcome some of these barriers? Well, for me, what started to change things for me is when I realized that when I help others find their own brilliance, I'm happier. That's what does it for me. I've coached a client who literally, after practicing with me how to handle a situation with her boss, came back to me 2 days later. She's like, oh my God, I've never felt so confident. I really think I can change the world at my company. That's an amazing thing for her to think. All because she embraced her own brilliance. It's actually that made me start my own business. And I want you to picture it. I'm starting my own business when I'm 26. And I watch all these people before me, and they're facilitating all these big rooms with everything on the wall and all these things. And I literally watch these facilitators, listen to them, and they're going, oh, the common themes that I'm seeing as I look around the room are, and I thought, oh God, what did I do? How am I going to do that? I can't look at that. And so I changed it. I make them vote on it. I make 2 or 3 people report out to the others. This is what we saw in our votes. And guess what? Because they reported out to each other, they're actually listening to each other because it's not someone from the outside. You know, that, oh, did you hear what they told us? Type of motif, right? And so it is that type of ingenuity that you have to bring to building your wealth and your impact. So let's talk about that. So I call this wealth by design, or the See Big model. And just for those who may not be able to actually see, it's capital SEE and then capital BIG. So let's get into these. The first thing you want to do, you want to see the world differently. Challenge the world's assumptions and even your own. Challenge your assumptions about money, about status. When people used to say, and it still happens, my husband is sitting here right in the front row, you ask him, all he has to do is tell me that I can't do something, and I'm, let me find a way, right? And let's be clear, of course, you got to have a team of people that you can have that will challenge you to see the world differently, right? The second one, build with what you have. Quit waiting for the perfect conditions. Leverage your current skills, your current experience, everything. Learn, grow, challenge yourself to do that. Wealth starts with recognizing your own power, and the only way you're going to do that is to not wait for the perfect conditions. Number 3, invest in yourself and invest in others. And this comes back to what I talked about earlier. When you are helping somebody else, you are actually helping yourself. And when you invest in your own future, you're really helping yourself succeed. Number 4, this wouldn't be a talk about wealth if I didn't talk about building your financial house. Okay? A friend of mine is in the wealth industry, and he's like, you can't just leave that out, right? So when we're talking about building your financial house, this really gets into making sure that you're operating with a financial plan of some kind, whether it's a budget, whatever. Make sure it's strategic and not reactive. Don't just always be reacting to what your accounts have in them. The second part of this one really gets into building healthy credit. And if I could tell you, that's one I wish I would have done better, right? Make sure you're paying down your debts. When you don't pay down your debts, it hurts others, not just you. Make sure you're investing in assets that work for you. Car washes are really good investments. Vending machines, right? You want to invest in things that are going to bring you money. You also want to make sure that you've got a financial resource that's just for emergencies, not just the bad ones, but the good ones too. Maybe you have some great professional development opportunity that comes up and you need that extra money. There you go. You've got it. It's in your emergency fund. And number 5 is your insurance. Make sure you have that. And we can talk more about that at another time. I call these 4 ideas the wealth by design. Oh, and by the way, it is accessible to everyone. And so everybody can achieve it. Just remember to see big. You want to see differently. Build with what you have. Invest in yourself and grow your financial health. I'm sure I'm running out of time, so I'll try to come to a wrap here. Whether you're blind or just feeling stuck, you don't need anybody's permission. You just need a plan and a framework. And you also need the courage, as Jay was talking about earlier, to begin to build your life, your impact, your wealth. As a coach and a leader, as a blind strategist, I've helped people start that strategy all the time. And the ones that succeed are the ones that really tap into that. They begin to do everything in this model. In fact, each of our journeys are unique. Just like each of our challenges are unique. Some are visible. Some you may not even realize people are going through. But your unique journey requires you to explore the barriers and design your approach to how you're going to go right around those paths and right around those barriers. And by seeing big, you're going to build your impact. And by doing so, I promise you, you will build your wealth. Thanks for coming out.